Good morning and good evening all. Welcome to Selenium with Java June 21 morning batch online training session 5. So in the last two sessions I already started Java and you already know what is data type, variable, object, classes, what are different for loop, how we can control the for loop with the help of continue and break keyword, right? What are different calendar function, date function, wrapper class, and what are the different conditional statement, right? If else, switch statement, if else, if ladder, all this stuff. And from now onward, like I will start the OPS concept of Java, which is nothing but the object oriented programming structure, which is the OPS concept. So these are the following topics will be covered today: inheritance, method overloading, overriding, abstraction, and the interface, and the importance of support, static, final, and finally keyword in Java. So before inheritance, like you need to remember the OPS concept. So I yesterday already mentioned, like Java, everything deals with object and classes only, right? So in OPS is a very important concept in Java. Yeah, and I think Python also followed the OPS concept. So most of the programming language nowadays following the OPS concept. So everything will be treated as object and class only. So OPS is nothing but the object oriented programming systems. So four different things is there from the OPS. One is the inheritance, one is the abstraction, one is the encapsulation, and one is the polymorphism. So I will discuss one by one, no need to worry. So inheritance in Java is a mechanism in which one object acquires all the properties and behavior of a parent object, right? It is the important parts of OPS. Using inheritance, we can create classes that are built upon existing classes. When we inherit from an existing classes, then we can reuse method and field from parent class, and we can add new method and field as well in the child class. The class from where the class members are getting inherited is called superclass, parent class, or the base class. The class to which the class member are getting inherited is called subclass, parent class, or derived class. The inheritance between superclass and subclass is achieved using the help of extend keyword. So in Java, you need to remember two keywords, important keyword. One is the extends and another is the implements keyword. So whenever I want to inherit from class to class, it will be extend keyword. Whenever I will be inheriting from interface to interface, it will be again extend keyword. But whenever I am inheriting any class from any interface, right? So it will be implements keyword. So these are the two keywords. Sometime interviewer used to ask the question that how you can inherit from class to class or interface to interface or class to interface. So only class to interface is implements keyword, otherwise extend keywords only. So in the general example, if I want to give, right? So we are having our father or grandfather, even our child or grandchild, like that, right? So suppose we are using our surname from our father. My father is using some surname from my grandfather, like that, right? Even we are staying in some home, right? The same home may be established with my grandfather. So definitely we are using our hierarchical order properties, methods, right? So that's why. So inheritance is nothing but like implementing or using the properties from the right hierarchical order, from the top to bottom way, right? From my grandparent to parents and parent to us, like that. So this is the simple example of inheritance. Suppose I am defining a class first A and then I am creating a class B. So class B is extending A. Similar way, I am creating class C and class can be extended to B. So definitely as and when it is extending to B, similarly, definitely it is also extending A because class B was extending to A, right? So that's why. So I am using extending my parent, right? Okay, and my parent is also extending my grandparent. So that's why multi-level inheritance also happens. Okay, instead of along with single inheritance. Okay, so I will show you with real-time example how the inheritance happens here. So let's this is the training project package we have created. So here I will be creating a class. So class name I can give in session 5 class A. Okay, so that is the class I am creating, session 5 classes. So that is the class I am creating. Let's see. So in that particular class, let's try to define some of the important properties, right? Suppose I will be creating few variables here, right? suppose integer I, integer j, right, integer j. So in the class level I am defining integer k, okay, and where I am adding some value, say suppose integer a and j, I will be assigning some value. It can be suppose say 20, right. Also I can create some value called string value, string str, creating a variable string str, and I am assigning some value, suppose say selenium, okay, and I can create one more variable, suppose say double d equal to suppose say value. So that are the different variable I am storing. Sometime I am assigning some value, sometime I am not assigning any value, just I am defining the variable, right. Then I can create few more functions as well here, right, method or function, okay. So I am creating a function here. Suppose say I am creating a function public void multiplication, okay, multiplication or multiply function, right. Whenever I am creating a multiplication function, maybe I need to provide two variables, so I am multiplying two variables, so I am providing variable as integer a and integer b, right. And as a functions, we can pass the argument or not, so it will be access modifier, the return type, right, and then some of the argument we can pass. So here I can directly use SYSO method of the two variables, right. So a star b, so that's why I can definitely multiply, and if I want to give some of the other part, right, I can give it also. Similarly I will be creating another method here. So public void add, okay, and I am creating suppose say double d1 and double d2, okay, and whatever I want to print out, it will be summation of both the element, right, d1 plus d2. So that are the different method and variable I have declared in the class A, right. And now if I want to access everything here in my main method, definitely I need to create a object for instance here, okay. Suppose object of class A, obj equal to new, and then that way, right, okay, I can use it easily. Now if I want to access all the thing, then I can use the variable here and SYSO method for the variable here. So object dot I can use. Here I did not define the value for I and j, so whatever it will be displayed, it will be the default value of the data type. So in case you are not assigning any value for any data type, so it will be default value. So for integer default value is 0, for string default value is null, for double default value is 0.0, right. So maybe I can declare it double, okay. So let's try to use everything, all the variable j, right, then here other variable string, and then other variable double d, and also I will be using the two method also, right. So it will be obj, as is return type is void, so I can directly use the method, right, add, okay, you can see add. So here I can give the double value for adding two variables, and suppose it's 400 and 300.75, and also I can use the multiplication function. So I'll be using obj a dot multiplication here. So I can have, if enter difference of two importance attribute to integer. So that's why I can use all the variables, right, and all the important method, right, based on the arguments we are providing, right. So now here you can see that for the two variable I did not provide any value, so it will be taking the default value. Integer it is 0 and double it is 0.0, so it will be printing you the default value. Okay, and for integer k I have defined, string I have defined, double I am defined. Here also I am passing the variables, right. So now if you want to run it, so you can see the output here accordingly. So for I and j it will be default value 0 and 0.0, otherwise for the rest of the thing it will be based on the other element, right. You can see for I it is default value 0 because I did not define any value, and for j it is 0.0, right. For string it's selenium, and for your double it is coming also, and summation is also coming 400 and 300 700.75, and your multiplication is 34 and 64 is multiplied 12 to 24. So that's why it is coming for a single class. But now I want to create another class. Why I need to use all the properties from that class A, right. So how can you create it? So you need to create a class, another class. Session 5 class B. Okay. Also I am selecting the method, main method here. Right, and in that particular class I can create few another variable. Suppose integer, here I have declared I, j, k, right, and okay, integer I1 I will be declare integer I1 equal to some value I can give it, right. I can give it some value, string str2, and I can give as testing, right. And here I can create a method, public void subtraction, right. Here I will be providing two variables, suppose integer I1, sorry I1 I already given, suppose say I2, and integer I3. So the two variable I am passing here, and whatever output it will be there, I will be there as so method, and I2 minus I3 subtraction, right, I2 minus I3, that will be result will be giving it. Okay. Now definitely in case I am creating a class here, right, object B equal to new object B for that particular class. Okay, and definitely with the help of that object I can access, right, all the importance method or kind of variable whatever is there in that particular class, right. So I can use it subtraction method. So I will be giving as integer suppose 30 and it will be 15, so 30. So definitely subtraction you can use it, right. I will be using ISO method here. I want to print I1, you can see it is coming. Similarly I want to print value, other value, it will also come. Value is string 2, str2, right. So if you run here, so you can see the output will be coming, right. 17 is coming. The difference of these two number subtraction, I1 is 50 and string 2 is coming as testing, right. So that is the different things coming. Now can I use that class A in the class B? Okay, let's try to access any variable here. Suppose here I have given any string name is str. Let's try to access that string. Okay, whatever has been declared in the other class. Okay, so declared here, right, string. I am trying to access string. You can see some error message is coming, right. Error message is that create a string in the type of, you need to create a new field string or create constant string in the that class. So it is not identifying the other class. available in the package, it will definitely not identified. So it is not allowing you. But if you inherit the parent class in the child class, so this is called child class, and I want to inherit all the property of the parent class. So how can you inherit? You need to inherit that class in your child class. So with the help of extends keyword. Okay, that is the concept of inheritance. So that is my child class or subclass or and that is my parent class or base class, right? I am inheriting all the property of the parent class to the child class. You can see immediately the error message gone, and I can access string variable from the parent class easily along with all the variable or functions in the child class. So that is the concept of inheritance. Definitely you can use all the property of the child class, as well as if you inherit any class to the child class, you can get all the property from the parent class as well. Now you can see no error message is there. If I want to access other variable, right, suppose k variable or d variable, it will give me no error, right? You can see k will be coming, okay, and also d will be coming here, right? Other variable will be coming. So here if I want to use multiplication function also, so with the help of that object here, you can easily access it. Dot multiplication, you can see it's coming, right? So I can give here 2 and 5 from that particular class. So as and when you are extending that keyword, everything, all the thing will be coming from your parent class to your child class, or addition, right? You can see that method is also coming. I can provide something, right, as a to variable I can pass, and here also I can pass something. Okay, now if you running your code, so you can see, so definitely you are accessing all the variables or method from your child class. Apart from that, as you are extending your parent class to your child class, so all the other thing also is there. So that is the beauty of your inheritance, right? You can see here everything is coming, right? So from that class, this is 3 important method or kind of variable are declared in my child class, but other thing is coming from the parent class, right? This thing are coming from the parent class. Okay, so that's why it will work. The inheritance also work. That is called single inheritance, right? Multi-level inheritance is nothing. Suppose I am creating another class. Session 5 class C, right? Okay. In that class, I can create a variable, suppose integer or maybe dub string str2 equal to inheritance. Okay, so that's the simple thing. And now if you are creating object, for instance, here simply in the main method, you can directly object C equal to new, right, and then you can access that variable whatever has been declared. You can create some more method as well, right? Object C obj C, press dot, you can see string2 is coming. Now you can access it. Okay, but now you want to access B class property as well as A class property. So how you can, what you need to do? You need to extend class B, and because class B is already extending class A, so that's why you can extend all your class, all the other class, parent and grandparent. Okay, so now what happened? So you are extending class B, so definitely you are getting all the properties of class B. And here class B also extending classes, so that means you can access all the property from the class A in the class C as well, right? So let's say, just try to see first few of the property from your class B, whether it's accessing or not. String 2 here also, okay, maybe I can give it another variable in my string 3. Okay, so that's fine. and now I want to access the string 2 which is available in my parent class, so I can definitely access it. Now I want to access my grandparent class to multi-level inheritance, so here I can access string str only, right? So let's see, let's try to access str as well, so it will be allow you, right? And if you want to run them, so it will be giving you the result. So first str3 is the inheritance part, it is coming from my child class, right? And then str2 is coming from my parent class, right? And also parent class is extending another class, so that is the reason str value it's coming from my grandparent class Selenium, right? So that's why multi-level inheritance also happen in Java, and that is the concept of inheritance. Then the next is the polymorphism. So polymorphism also another of concept of Java. So poly, you can see the name itself. Poly means many and morphism means form. So polymorphism in Java is a concept for which by which we can perform single action in different way, multiple way or multiple form. Polymorphism derived from the two Greek words, poly means many and morph means form. So polymorphism means many way. In the Java there are two type of polymorphism available. One is the compile time polymorphism, one is the runtime polymorphism or method overloading. Okay, or sometimes it's called method overloading is called static polymorphism or static binding, and runtime polymorphism is called dynamic binding. So that are the different names. Method overloading, there are two more methods having same name in the class but they differ in the following way, right? I can create a method with same name, right? But we can change in two ways. One is we can change the number of arguments, number of parameter, right? And type of argument, means sometimes we can pass integer, sometimes we can pass double, sometimes we can pass float, all this stuff. So method overloading means your method name will be same but your method signature, right, either number of argument or type of argument will be different. So that is the concept of method overloading, right? So here I will be showing you, suppose say we have created a addition function, right, which is add d1 and d2. Let's try to create some more functions with the same name. You can see now error message is there because the method should be unique in nature. So you can see error message is there, right, rename add. Okay, but here I am changing the data type to integer int. Okay, so now you can see method name is same but there is no error message, right? Similar here, instead of that is the one way. One, you can change the signature, that means data type itself. So where we are passing for the here we are passing integer, here we are passing double, right? So that is the two different way. After that we can pass, but we can pass multiple parameters. So I will be using another parameter double d3. Okay, and here I am summing it up plus d3. So name is still same, right? And here I can pass another parameters double d4 and d3 and double d4. Okay, now you can see error gone. You can see error gone, so I can also pass it d3 and d4. Okay, so that is called method overloading. So same method we are creating, same method, right? Return type also same, name is also same, but we are passing different type of parameter. Here we have 2 parameter, here also 2 parameter, here 3 parameter, here 4 parameter. Here both are 3 parameters, 2 parameter only, but return data type is different, right? So that is the basic concept of compile time polymorphism or static binding or method overloading. You can create same method in any of the class with differing the following attribute. One is the number of argument or the type of argument. Number of arguments means number of parameters changing, and type of argument means the data type you are changing, right? So that is the different part. Now if you want to here you need to want to addition, right? You are using that addition, right? So you will be using let's comment it out all these things. So okay, only I will be using addition. So one method I already used, which is double 1 and double 2, double 3. After that we will be using object a dot add, right? You can see all the four method is coming, right, with same name. So if you want select that way, so that's why you will need to pass it. So here if you select integer part, so that one I already selected here. If I want integer one, so I need to pass integer, right? So suppose say 2 and say 19, I am passing that integer, right? After that, if I want to use the other methods with same name dot, you can need to select, right, add other one. So here you need to pass three parameter, right? Suppose say double and other one. Okay, that is the double. Another way I can use another one dot add. So this is here four parameter you need to pass. You can see all four parameter. It's double only, so it will no error. Okay. So that's why you can do the method overloading. Means same method but with the changing of the signature, right? Means you are either changing the parameter type or changing the parameter number. You can see that same method is working in different way, right? Okay. So I am giving a simple example of method overloading, real time example. Okay. Suppose you are a person, okay, you are taking a training here, so you are a student here, right? Sometime you are working for a company, you can be employee there. You are working from home, so you can be brother or son from your, like you are going to the market for buy something, you will be customer. So based on the location you are changing your property. So that's why, right, you are, in case you are carrying a bag, right, to buy something, so everybody can buy this property, that they can call you a customer, right? In case you are going to office, right, after your on with your ID card, so that everybody must know that you are the person, but you are going for the office as an employee. So that is the important example of like polymorphism, same thing, right? One person but one method but different kind of attribute or signature. Okay. Then the runtime polymorphism. So compile time polymorphism can be, we can find any kind of error in the compile time or method overloading, but for the runtime only we can run it during the runtime. Okay. If the subclass or child class has the same method as declared in parent class, it is known method overriding in Java. When a method in a subclass has the same name, same parameter or signature and the same return type as a method in its superclass, then the method in the subclass is said to override the method in the superclass. Constructor cannot be overridden. A method declared final cannot be overridden. Static method cannot be overridden. It's because the static method is bound with class, where instance method is bound with an object. Okay. So how method overriding or runtime polymorphism or dynamic binding happens, right? So these are the two class, right? This is my parent class and this is child class. Forget about class C. Okay, so forget about class C. So this is having my two class. This is my parent class and this is my child class, where I am, right, extending the parent class. So in the child class, let's create a method here. Okay, suppose say public void. Okay, suppose say test method. Okay. Here output for class A. So that is the thing I want to print, right? So here now whatever we have declared, if nothing was in common, right? Okay. Here you can see integer I, k, string d, and multiplication and addition we have written, and in the other class we have created another variable, another method. Okay. So this is the one thing, important thing, and apart from that I will be defining a variable, suppose a string. Okay. So let's declare any variable, so string 1. equal to suppose say class A. Okay, we can declare a variable here, okay, or string 1 okay. Now the same thing let's try to use in the child class as well, right? The same thing I'll be using in the child class, okay. So here it is class B, so I'll be changing it to B, okay. So this is the method and this is the variable common. The name is common, only value is different, right? Now in case I want to access them in my parent class or sorry child class, then what will happen? So here let's create an object here. First try to access the variable here. So SO with the help of the object whatever I created from the child class dot, which is common in nature, right? This is the common part, and after that I will be also using dot another method which is test method, right? Test method. So these are common in nature, right? So this variable is common. So string 11 variable is common and value is different here, class A and class B, right? Similarly test method also output is different. Now the question is that which value it should take here, okay. So that is the concept of overriding. So it will take the child class. In case the same thing is available in the child class, it will override the parent class. So that is called overriding. So it is overriding the parent class attribute in case the same thing is available in the child class as well, right? Okay. So that is the concept of method overriding. Let's try to run it and let's see the output. So output will be coming based on the child class thing, right? It is coming as class B, the string value. So it is coming from the base child class because this is the my child class, this is my parent class, and also output is coming as class B, right? But it is not coming from my parent class. Those same variable or same class we have declared, right? So that is called method overriding. So it is overriding the parent class attribute in case same thing is found in the both the class parent and child class, okay. So that is the concept of runtime polymorphism or method overriding, right? In case still we want to use those things, right? So apart from that I have to mention, right, a method declared final cannot be overridden. Suppose say here declared as method public final one, okay. In case if you declare any method as final, like okay, and let's try to see it. You can see immediately 7 message came, right? You can see here remove final modifier from the parent class. So once a method is declared final in the parent class, it cannot be overridden, right? Similarly static method, in case you are declaring a static method or static variable cannot be overridden. So you can see here if you go to the child class, then the problem will be coming. So parent class no problem, parent class you can define definitely anything, because in the parent class will not recognize anything is there on the child class, because your flow will be from top to bottom but not from bottom to top. That's the thing you need to understand. Your parent is not taking any property from the child, but you are taking all the property from the parent. So that is the reason whatever writing you are writing in the parent class, there no error message is there, because it will not check anything is there or not in the child class. But child class will try to validate whether the same thing is available in the parent class or not, and whether that particular type is static or final. So immediately child class error message is there, right? You can see error message coming in the child class, not in the parent class. You can see remove static modifier of sessions class method 1. So if I can do it from here directly, and if I save it here, you can see error message is gone from the child class. So that is the beauty of parent and child class concept, right? So static method can be overridden, a method declared final can be overridden. Then how we can use the value of the parent class as well? So we need to use the super keyword. So super keyword in Java is a reference variable which is used to refer immediate parent class object. Okay. So wherever you are creating an instance of subclass, an instance of parent class is created implicitly, which is referred by the super reference variable. Super keyword can be used at variable method at constructor level. Private method of the super class cannot be called. Only public and protected method can be called by the super keyword. Okay. So suppose say we have defined something, right? So definitely we already defined, but in case still I want to access the super keyword, then how can I access it? So that is my question, right? So we have created here two more classes, right? And sorry, one method and one classes. And here if I want to use, right, we will be creating a method, another method. Then only I can use the super thing. Sorry, I mean I can use all the method. So here instead of test method, like create a method test all, right? And here you can call it that test method. So it will be all definitely displayed here, the test method. Instead of that part, I will be calling the test method, right? This is the another way I am calling it. And another thing is that I am calling super and then the test method. Okay, super with the help of super keyword dot test method. So it will be calling from the parent class. You can see the class is coming session 5 class A. Okay, so that's way I can call, right, both the method from the parent and child. Similarly, if I want to access them, right, that variable as well, so here I will be calling the variable directly string. Yeah. Okay, and after that also I want to call the variable from the parent class, right? So I will be using super dot string 11. You can see it is coming from, no, it is coming from B only. If we want to access it, we can give super dot, it is coming from class B only. Okay, in the method maybe we can directly cannot use it, but we can use in other way. I will show you. So let's now try to call that method in your child class, right, instead of all the other method. Let's comment it out. So let's see how can you also access the property of your, right, sorry, that object B, objb dot your method. What is the method? Test all, test method all, right? Let's try to run it and let's see whether both the method properties are coming from or not. You can see here the output for class B. Here we have written test method, we are calling it directly, right? So that's why we can create another method, we can call other method directly. So that is the, we can directly call with the name. But in case the same name method we need to use the, from the parent class we need to use super method, right, super and then the method name, and here you can call directly from that class. And also if you want to call with the help of super, so it will be SYSO method and then simply super dot, I think it will be coming, right? You can see this coming from the class A, no bracket. Okay, now if you run it again, so you can access all the variable and the classes from the parent class as well. So first it is coming the test method, right? Then with the help of super test method we are calling the parent class method, same name. So it is coming here, right, output for class A. Then here variable as well, we are calling it directly, the variable whatever declared from the child class, and also parent class we are declaring with the help of super method. So I am directly accessing that one. it is coming. So that's why with the help of super keyword, sometimes in case of method overriding, we can still access the all the important property of the parent class as well. So method overriding only happens when the parent and child class having the same method and same signature. So in case if you want to access those methods, definitely your parent class will be overridden. And still if you want to use them, you can create a new methods, right, where you can use the super keyword, and with the help of the super keyword you can access all the variables or constructor or like a method from the parent class. So that is the concept of, right, three things I have discussed so far: inheritance, method overloading, method overriding, and how we can use super keyword in the method overriding. So any questions so far from the four topic? Is it clear? Anyone has any questions? Okay, fine. I'll be going. Are you able to hear me, right? Hello.
Yes, yes.
Okay, fine. Then the next one is the abstraction, which is also a concept from the Java Ops concept. So abstraction is the process of hiding implementation detail and showing that functionality to the user, right? So one example I have tried to given here. Suppose say you are working with your mobile, right, or your laptop or your desktop, and you are pressing something from your keyboard or from your mobile keyboard, right, and you are performing some actions. You are sending some SMS, sending some mail, right? So are you getting to know the internal structure, how the mail is sending is happening or not? No, but you are sending a mail and somebody is receiving a mail, right? So internal structure is not shown to the other person, right? So that is called abstraction. So hiding the implementation detail and showing the functionality to the user. In other way, it shows important things to the user and hides internal detail. For example, sending SMS where user type the text and send the message. One don't know the internal processing about the message delivery. Abstraction focus on what the object does instead of how it does. A class which is declared with abstract keyword is known as abstract class in Java. It can have abstract and non-abstract method. So whenever we are declaring a class, right? So public, class, animal, we are declaring, right? Sometimes our class name. But in case we are declaring something abstract here, so it will be abstract class. So abstract class have normal method as well as non-abstract method, right? So abstract class which is declared with the abstract keyword will be known as the abstract class in Java. It can have both abstract and non-abstract method. In case the method is abstract in nature, there cannot be have any body in the method. So abstract method is just we are writing the method name, but we are not writing any body or functionality. So that is the concept of abstract. And from class, concrete class or abstract class, we can use definitely extend keywords, right? We can extend it, right, from another class to other class. So that is the concept of abstraction. Okay. So here let's create two more class so that you can get to know. So I will be creating two more classes here. So one will be class D and one will be class E. So I'll be creating session 5, right, class D here. I can select, right, okay, normal class, and I can create another class, okay, class E. So you can see there is an abstract, right, keyword. You can select it, or final thing you can select it. So if I select abstract, so it will be abstract in nature. Class session 5 class E. Okay. So you can select or not select it. It does not matter, but you can add the abstract word, right? So you can see here. So these are the two classes I have created. So now one class you can show it abstract, right? Termed as abstract. So here, so how you can create abstract class? So you can create abstract class like that way, abstract class animal. So here I can give, instead of public, I can give abstract. Okay, abstract. That is the class. So abstract class I can create multiple method here. Okay, so suppose say I will be using creating a method as void test1, so it is non abstract method, right? And I will be creating another method which is abstract in nature, right? I can give the method name as test2 and I can give its abstract. Okay, abstract method. Here some error message. Okay, you can see here, as and when I have defined the method name as abstract, you can see either it is giving me two suggestions, either remove abstract modifier or remove method body. So normal class can have a normal method can have a body of the method, but abstract method cannot have a body. So I need to remove the body. Now you can see it is coming, working fine. So abstract class can have abstract method as well as non-abstract method. In case we are declaring anything as abstract method, so that method cannot have a body. So that is the concept of abstract class and abstract method. So that is the thing. Now in case my class E, I want to extend class D. So class D here can be my parent class and class E will be my child class. So if I want to extend it, so what happens? Okay, so immediately you can see some error message is there. What is the error message? You can see, as and when we are trying to inherit an abstract class, so we have to implement all the unimplemented methods. Unimplemented method means abstract method. Abstract method means those method does not have any body at all or signature at all in the method, right? So here in the class D, right, two method was there, one is non-abstract method and one is abstract method. So for the non-abstract method you don't need to implement in the child class, only the abstract method we have to implement them in the child class. So that is the concept of inheritance for the abstract with the help of abstract class or abstract method, right? Okay, so we need to unimplement, so automatically it is coming here, this method, and in that method I can give body. Okay, so I am declaring that abstract part in the parent class, only the method name, and method signature I am declaring in the child method, right? Where error message is coming? Remove override annotation. Okay, that's fine. Okay, that's gone. So I can copy paste it and I can also paste it in the class level. Okay, there is no need to worry. Same way. And now if I create a object or instance here for the child class, then I can definitely use it, right? So I'll be using the first test method 2, test method 1 and test method 2. So you can see it here. So now I can use both the method from my child class, sorry, parent class in the child class. So which in one is abstract in nature, one is non-abstract in nature. So that is called abstraction, abstract method or abstract class. So that is the concept of abstraction, where we will be dealing with abstract class, abstract method, non-abstract method. So in case as and when you are defining any class as abstract, so that abstract class can have abstract and non-abstract method. There is no mandatory that abstract class will having only the abstract method or non-abstract method. So it can have both the method. But in case you are extending that abstract class to your child class, so immediately you need to unimplement all the abstract method, right? You need to implement them, all the unimplemented method. So that is the reason we are implementing it with the method body, and after that we can access all the methods. So that is the concept of abstraction. Now interface also linked with the abstraction only. So in the abstract class we are creating an abstract class with the help of abstract keyword, and in that abstract class we are maintaining something, some method as abstract and some method as non-abstract. But interface is 100% abstract in nature. So why we need to, yeah.
Small doubt.
Hmm.
As you told that actually, so in abstraction we are implementing from parent to child class.
Hmm.
Okay, for one, so and which method we are using, like method
No.
overloading or
No, it is a, yeah, it is a inheritance property.
yes.
No method overloading, method overriding, only inheritance.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
Because see, if you are extending from, suppose say that class A is a parent class and class
Yeah,
B is
because here you can see in that case 2 there is no method body at all. So that is the abstract method, and here in the child class we are unimplementing that those methods, sorry, implementing those unimplemented method, and you are giving the body only. So in the parent class there is no body because of abstract method. So there is nothing is there, right? In case there is no method body, then how you can call it the method? So this is unimplemented method, and we are implementing it in the child class, and we are giving some body, right, or signature, then we are accessing it. So that is the concept of abstraction. There is no method overloading, method overriding concept, only the inheritance and abstraction concept is there.
yeah.
Okay. So the now it's interface. So I already mentioned interface 100% in nature, abstraction in nature. So interface in Java type definition block, which is 100% abstract. All the interface methods by default public and abstract. Static and final modifier are not allowed for the interface method. All the interface variable will be public, static and final by default. Interface cannot be instantiated and it does not contain any constructor. I will let you know. Interface can be using implements keyword, right? I already mentioned. If you want to extend interface or from the parent to child, you need to use implement keyword, not the extend keyword. And class that implements an interface must implement all the methods declared in the interface, and from interface to interface it will be extend keyword. Why you need to use interface? So that you can access those interface in the class and all your basic signature will not be missed to implement. So that is the reason of the concept of interface. Okay. Suppose say today you are dealing with your car manufacturer. Okay. So the car can be any type. It can be your Hyundai car, it can be Maruti car, it can be BMW car, and other, right, Renault car, other car can be there. But as a generic, I can create an interface with all the properties of the car. Means I will be creating the method only. So car definitely having some engine, car definitely having some kind of the wheel, right, can have kind of having some doors, right. So one car can have 7 doors, one car can have 5 doors, can some headlight, all these stuffs can be there. So in case we are creating interface with all the method name, and whenever we will be implementing the interface, so by default we have to use all the important method. So there will be no chances that something we can forget it, right. So by default we have to implement all the unimplemented method whenever it is the interface. So that is the beauty of interface, so that we can't forget anything. There is no need to remember the important characteristic mandatory field. So in case we are using interface, definitely we need to, as and when we will be extending the interface with the help of implement keyword. So in the class level we need to create them by default. Okay. So how we will be doing it? Let's create an interface first. If you go to the training package, you can see there is an option called interface, right? Okay, so I can create an interface. So session, suppose the interface name I can give at animal. Okay, I can give animal interface name, right? So that is the interface name I am giving, and here interface I can create multiple methods which will be 100% abstract in nature, right? So say I will be having public void. So an animal can have hand, right? Hand. So that is the one method. Okay. Animal will be having some leg. Animal can have some other part, right? Suppose say head, right? And mouth, right? They can have some ear, they can have some eye. So this is the important characteristic animal should carry, right? They can have some nose. Okay, then definitely from animal to animal the value can vary, right? Some of the animals do not have any leg, only 4 hands, right? Some of the animal is having only leg, head. Some of the animal might can have 2 head, 2 mouth, 2 instead of 2 ear, 4 ear. It can be only 1 eye. It can have 3 nose, like that. So I am just assuming, right? But these are the important characteristics an animal should have. So that's why I am defining the schema or characteristic whatever thing should have as an interface. And you can see here, as and when we are creating interface, you can see there is an I button. So that's why you can see whether it's an interface or a class. In case a class there is nothing, but interface there is an I button here. Okay, so that is the creating of interface, right? Then my interface is created successfully. Okay, I have given all the important properties. So all the methods of interface will be 100% abstract in nature, right? So we can't create any body here. Suppose say if you want to give any body here, let's try to give it and let's see what happening. You can see no default proposal is there, because whenever you are creating any interface, this interface only can have the methods but no signature in the method. So that is the important characteristics. So all the methods in the interface should be 100% abstract in nature. But for the abstract class, it can have abstract method as well as non-abstract method. But interface is 100% abstract in nature, right? So that is the difference. After that, I have created the interface, right? And then that interface I want to extend in another class, say. Okay, I will be creating another class. Session 5 class I can create, right, for the interface, and I am selecting the main method. Okay, then how you need to implement extend the interface? So you need to use implements keyword, right? Whenever I want to, interface can be used using implement keyword for a class. So I will be using implements keyword here, not the extend. So class to class will be extending with the help of extend keyword, interface to interface extend keyword, but interface to class it will be implements keyword. And I need to give the interface name, that is the interface name. Okay. Now you can see immediately error message is coming, right? So we need to must implement all the method. We can't skip a single method. We need to implement all the method, right? It is giving suggestion. All unimplemented method either make type. This is abstract in nature. So we need to implement all the unimplemented methods. So you can see automatically coming, right? Okay. Then here I can give some value here, right? Okay, suppose say I am just considering the animal is tiger. Tiger is having no hands. Okay, for the hand, for the leg, tiger is having 4 legs. Head is having 1 head. So that's why I can implement it now. Okay, tiger is having 1 head, then mouth, 1 mouth, similar way it can have ear, 2 ear, and also eye. Tiger can have 1 eye. So I am implementing. In case I am creating one more class called monkey, one more class animal, called human being. So definitely it can vary, right? So for human being it will be 2 hands, 2 legs, and from some other animal it can be other, right? It can be 4 ears. I am just assuming. Similarly, nose also I can have 1 nose. So 2 eye, it will be not 1 eye, it will be 2 eye. So now I have implemented all the unimplemented method, right? Now I can create an object or instance here and I can access them. Object I equal to new class. Then I can access them, right? Everything with the help of all the methods, whatever we have declared. Then you can see all the methods will be coming here, right? Your eye, hand, head, leg, mouth, nose. So we can use one by one method. Dot ear I have used. I can use eye. I can use hand. I can use head. I can use leg. Right? I can use mouth. I can use leg. So that are the different method I can use it now. Let's try to run it and let's see. Okay, you can see the output is coming. Now say what I can create another more class where I can implement all of the implement method. Suppose I want to create another animal, right? Human being, monkey, right? Anything. It can be dog, cat. So I can give the different their value here in the method body. But I need to implement all the implemented method. What is the importance of interface? Another thing is that maybe today I think that maybe leg, that is not a mandatory part. I can remove it. So definitely also we need to remove it from the other classes as well, right? So suppose say today I am removing that part. Okay, I don't want to add the ear. Okay, so I need to remove it, and instead of that I need to create another variable, right? Another important property. Suppose say public void tail, right? Some of the animal can have a tail, right? So I need to use it and press save here. So you can see immediately in the classes, right, which is implementing the interface, is immediately error message is coming. Okay, so you can see error message came. Error message is showing that you need to add unimplemented method. So only it will be adding the newly added one, right? You can see that part we need to remove it, right? Because that I already unimplemented ear part. So I need to remove that part, right? You can see there one suggestion is coming. We need to create ear in the superclass type, or we need to remove the override annotation. Okay. So in case of override, that is fine still. So that can be considered as a child class attribute, or you can simply remove it or comment it out. Okay. After that, whatever new thing is added, right? So for the new part also we need to give the body. You can see new part should come somewhere. You can see, so that all in also you can comment it out, and also the new part whatever we have added newly, right? The new is tail. So we need to add it here. somewhere we need to implement it. So a tail will be coming here somewhere. You can see it's came right automatically, and we need to give the body here for the tail. So that is the beauty of interface. Tiger is having one tail, right? And if we want to access it, so it will be object one dot tail. So that is the reason we will be updating all the interface, and from interface all the classes, relevant classes can implement it, right? And as and when you are changing in the interface, definitely it will be giving you error in the classes and you need to correct them. Just example given, right, for the important properties, so that nobody can no need to remember anything, all the important characteristic properties. So you can implement all the important one without forgetting anything. So that is the main importance of interface. So interface is 100% abstract in nature. So interface variable are public, static and final by default, right? Interface cannot be instantiated, right? Static and final modifier are not allowed for interface method. So if you want to give anything static here, interface, right, public static, so it will not be allowed. It will throw some error. You can see. Remove invalid modifier. Now if you want to give as final, similarly also it will not allow it. So it will be showing as error. Remove invalid modifier. So interface cannot be public or cannot be static or final, right? All the interface should be 100% abstract in nature. We need to use implements keyword, and in case we are adding more methods to the interface or deleting something, so definitely relevant classes also need to be updated accordingly. Interface cannot be instantiated. Already mentioned, whenever we want to create an object or instance, right? So we only can create an object or instance for the classes. Interface directly we can't create an object. Here there is no main method is there. Suppose say you need to create a object here. As we are implementing in the main method, right? Is it allowed to create a class here? So object interface. I am giving the name here with the help of new keyword. It will be allowed? No, we can't create an object for instance from the interface. Only we can create a class object for instance. So you can see here, error message is there. Cannot instantiate the type certain 5 animal because it is interface. It is not a class. So that is the one of the important example, right? Okay. So that's all about for the interface. Then I will be letting you know what are the different three importance of the different keyword. One is static keyword, one is final keyword, and one is Java finally block. So yesterday I already showed, right, how we can handle a error with the help of try catch block. Today we will be using a finally block as well with the help of try catch. So interface is completed. Now static keyword. So here let's create a class simply for season 5, and I am selecting the method. So here I am defining two variable, integer I equal to 50, right, and static int equal to 100. So this is the two variable I can define, static int j. Okay. So what is the importance of static keyword? That static keyword in Java is used for memory management mainly. We can apply Java static keyword with variable, method, block and nested class. The static keyword belong to class, then an instance of the class. When a variable is declared as static, then a single copy of the variable is created and shared among all the object level. So in the last time I already showed you, right, what is the different variable, right? Static variable, class variable or local variable, right? So this is your class or instance variable. Where we are not declaring anything static. A local variable only with your method or body. Here it is, in case you are declaring anything static, This will be static variable. So as and when you are declaring something static, memory allocation will be done immediately, and you can access it directly into your main method. So it is possible to create a class member that can be accessed and invoked without creating an instance of the class. In order to create such a member, you have to use static keyword while declaring a class member. So now if you want to access it, right, the static member, you can directly access it. So if you want to access directly, you can see. If you want to print out, you can directly print it out, because you declared static, that variable is static, right? So that can be accessed anywhere without creating object or instance. So that is the concept of static. Whereas class or instance variable, if you want to access it, so you cannot access it directly, because this is the class variable. You have to create an object or instance for the class first. After that, you can use it. So you can see error message is there. What is the error message? Change I to other static. If you change it to static, you can use it, right? Otherwise, you can't use it. So for if you want to use it, so you have to create an object or instance first for the class. Then with the help of that object, you can access it. So here it will be object dot I. Okay. Now you can access it. So that is the difference between static keyword and or static variable or non-static variable or class variable, right? So in case you are declaring some variable static, so immediately memory allocation will be done, and there is no need of creating an object or instance. You can directly use anywhere in that class. So now you will be creating a also a method here, public static add, right? That is the method I can use. So and I want to so suppose say I can give first to variable integer a comma integer b, and I can print out a plus b. Okay, I think static will be first, static public add. Okay, and void return type I need to give it. Okay, so that's why I can create a method which is static in nature, so that as the method is static, I can directly use it, right? So I can directly call that method, right? Add. Add argument. So I need to pass the argument, suppose say 5 and say 10. Okay. So directly I can use it. So that is the difference of static. But in case I am creating a normal method, say which is not static in nature, so static keyword I am removing it, and I am using some subtraction or multiplication. I am creating another variable multiplication by multiplying. So that variable, if I want to access it, that method I want to access, I have to use that object first. I have created the object, so object dot multiplication I can access it. And here I can give 3 and suppose here I can give 9. So 3 and 9 multiplied by 27. Okay. So that's why you can get the difference between static and static import and of static modifier in the Java or static keyword. So as and when you are declaring something static, so those method or class will be immediately accessible throughout the class without creating object or instance. In case it is not static variable, non-static, or it is a class variable, so definitely you have to create an object instance first. After that you can use it. Then the final keyword. So final keyword is used in different contexts. First of all, final is a non-access modifier. So as you already know, public is the access modifier, and right, then static or final is the non-access modifier. Void is return time, and this is the main method. So in case you are declaring something, okay. So non-access modifier applicable only to a variable, a method, or a class. Following are the different contexts where final is used. Right? Final variable, if we declare something final, so we can't change and value anything. Final method, we can prevent method overriding. Final class, we can prevent inheritance. So here we are showing, right, that we are creating the class and we are inheriting it here, right? But in case we are using, instead of abstract, it's a final, we can't inherit it, right? You can see error message is coming. Okay, so that is the thing. We need to either, so anything, any class defined and as final, it cannot be abstract, it cannot be inherited. So we can prevent inheritance, and any method defined as final, it cannot be overriding, right? In case the same method is there in the parent and child class, we can override, but in case we are defining any method as final, it can be overriding. The only difference between a normal variable and a final variable is that we can reassign value to the normal variable, but whereas for the final one, once the value is defined, we can't change it, right? So it will remain constant throughout your execution. A static method cannot be overridden by any subclass, right? Similarly, whenever it is a class, in case you want to prevent the inheritance, so you need to use the class as final. So that is the three important for final keyword. So how I will be using final keyword here? So suppose say I am declaring a variable, suppose say double d1 equal to giving some value. Okay, I can give a value, right? Okay, then again I can change the value here. Okay, I can change the value as 99. There is nobody will stop me to change the value. I can change the value any number of times. Okay, and if I want to print the variable here, so it will give me the value from the last one. Okay, let's format the code, select the code source and format it. Okay, let's run the code here. You can see the value is coming, so it is taking the last one. But here if I want that value should not be changed for the variable, so how can I do it? We need to define before final, before the data type final. So you can see error message is coming, because once the value is defined as final, you can't change it, right? So you can see we need to remove that part, right? Remove final modifier, or I need to remove that one. Okay, so that is the importance of final modifier. Okay, so in case it is variable, in case we are defining as final, so that value cannot be changed throughout your execution, so it will be constant. That is the with the help of for the variable. And in case it is a method, in case you are declaring the method as final, so it cannot be overridden. In case it is a class, it cannot be inherited to the child class. So that is the concept of final keyword in respect of variables, method and class. Then the last one I will be covering as finally block. So in the last session you already see, in case of any exceptions, we can handle the exception, how we can handle the exception, right? And in case of
Small doubt is this.
yeah,
Can you just show me that one finally class
yeah, right,
program?
yes.
Can we use at a time like static keyword and also final in single this one?
No,
Because I
or
don't understand.
no, because it is a non-access modifier, it will be only one, right?
Okay.
Because static or final is a non-access modifier, so it can be only one. Your public is your access modifier.
Yeah.
It can be public, private, protected or default, and whereas non-access only can be one only, either final or either static or either abstract.
But actually yes. Yeah. Can you scroll up that one? Scroll up. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Here actually you have given like static into j is equal to like we have given like static variable, but after that in in public stat in so after main method have given like final double. So can we give like both keywords like static and final in like, because I don't understand this concept.
this is the non-access modifier, okay, static and final. Okay, you can see error message is coming.
Yeah.
Okay, remove invalid modifier. So here you can give its public. One will be access modifier, one will be non-access modifier. But if you are also final, I think it will not allowed, right? So this is only you need to use it. So at the same time you can only use one access modifier, one non-access modifier, not multiple. So final, abstract and static are the non-access modifier, whereas public, private, protected, default is the access modifier. So you can use only at a single time, at a one time, sorry, one access and one non-access modifier, and one variable name definitely, and one variable value. Then the last one is Java finally block. So in the last session you already seen, right, in case of any error message is coming, we need to handle those error message, right, with the help of try catch block. So you can also use the finally block as well as along with the try catch block. Okay, so finally block contains all the crucial statement that must be executed whether exception occurs or not. A finally block must be associated with the try block. You cannot use finally without a try block. You should place those statements in this block that must executed always. In normal cases where there is no exception and we are using try catch block, right, so in case of no exception your catch block will be completely ignored. But if you still want to execute the finally block at least one time, so you need to use the finally block, so that exception occurred or does not matter, it will be executed one time, right. Type block can be used with finally before a catch also. So that is the syntax. I will be showing you how you can use try catch and finally block. So in the last time I already showed you example of how to handle the exceptions. Again I am reiterating. Okay. So this is the first line of code I am writing, and after that I will be writing the above code, and here in the middle I want to perform an operation integer I, and I want to store some value. It will be 100 divided by 0. So that is not possible, you already know, right. So here it is not showing any error in the compile time, but in the runtime it will throw the exception, because this is the arithmetic exception. We can't divide anything by 0. So what will happen in case we are not handling the exception? So before the exceptions all the line of code will be executed, but as and when exception is coming and we are not handling the exception, your next line of code will be not executed. Execution will stop or halt there. That is the problem. So let's try to run it here. You can see the below line of code is executed before the exception, and here exception triggered, which is nothing but the arithmetic exception, right. And you can see here the next line of code is not getting executed because of the exception. So I need to handle the exception. So yesterday session I showed you how to handle the exception with the help of try catch block. So you can click source here, and you can you can right click here, select the line of code where exception is triggered. You can right click here, you can surround with, in case you are not familiar with the try catch block for time being, okay. And you can give the exception, or in case if you know the exception name, you can directly give the exception name also. Exception is a generic term, it will handle any kind of exception, but if you know the exception name, you can also give the exception name in the exception part. So that's how you can handle it. And if you want to print out, you can remove the comment and you can use just print out the exception whatever is coming. So you handle the exceptions, so the remaining line of code will be executed and the exception will be caught here. So that is the beauty of exception handling. Exception is it is not an error, it's something that you know that thing can happen in your code. So beforehand I can get to know that this the problem can happen, so definitely I can solve those problem, right. So you can see this coming before line of code is coming, exception has been handled and is printed with the help of that one, and next line of code is executed for the try catch block. But what happen in case I am using try catch block and there is no exception at all? If you want to divide 100 by 1, so there will be no exception will be printed out. So whatever try catch block will be scanning. So try block will try to catch the exception, right? And catch will printed out the exception after catching it. But in case there is no exception, so try catch block will be completely ignored. You can see it will be completely ignored. Only your before line and next line of code is coming. That and that line of code. But in case I want to handle the exception in case whether error message is triggered or not, I want to print something so that I can get to know that I have tried to write some code to handle the exception. But now exception is not coming, that's fine, but something is coming so that anyone can get to know we have written some code. So how can you do it? With the help of finally, right? Apart from try catch, you can give something finally, right? You can give here. After the try catch flag, you can give something called finally. And here you can give something ISO. So I can give some output here. Finally, block will be always executed. Whether exception is triggered or not triggered, that does not matter. It will be always executed. So if you now run it, you can see it is coming. So that is the importance of finally block, right? So it will let you know that you have tried to catch some exception, but it is not triggered, but it will still be give you the details. But now if you exception is happened, so definitely exception will be caught and it will be printed out along with finally block comment, and definitely the other lines of code will be executed. So that is the difference between the try catch and the finally block. You can see the below line of code is getting executed, then exception is getting caught and it is printed out, then finally block is executed, then the remaining lines of code will be executed. Okay, so that's why we can also use the finally block. Okay, so that are the topics I have tried to cover in today's session. OPS concept, inheritance, polymorphism, two important concepts, method overloading, overriding I have covered. Super keyword, how with the help of super keyword, how we can use the parent method or variables. What is abstract class, abstract method, non-abstract method, what is interface, what are the importance of static, final and finally keyword. So that are the agenda for today. So that's all for today's session. Thank you.